Outside the den, inside the barn. Motor City Pride. We've been waiting long. Mic check 1, 2, podcast booth tight. Been breaking down plays every Sunday night. From the den, we step to the bar, we roll. Analyzing film clips, how the story's told. Lions on the rise.
And we're back.
Welcome back, One Pride, to an off-season special of Outside the Den,
Inside the Barn.
Back inside the barn. My name is Jake. Right next to me is Cousin Lyle, and there's Big Brother Josh right there. And we are here on, let's see, we're recording this on Wednesday, May 20th, a couple weeks after the draft, and the week after the NFL schedule was released. So we have quite a bit to talk about in a short amount of time. But first and foremost, how are you fellas doing today? Big congrats to both of you guys. You both had a son finish and graduate college, so congrats to them. I'd expect you to play the applause thing, but, you know.
It is the off season.
There we go. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, son of Cousin Island's son of Brother Josh. Yeah, so. But yeah, no. So congratulations to you both. You know, one kid down, and you both have other kids as they are ascending in post high school as well. So congrats to you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, all that. I'd like to thank myself first and foremost.
Yeah.
Getting the credit of getting that kid through there, and
yeah, I'm sure reining in your two sons with how smart they are and how well they did in school. I'm sure that was very difficult to keep them on track, you know, as they're becoming full-fledged tax-paying adults, you know. So
yeah, they're getting my guy's getting the treatment now. He just started his full-time job. This is his first week full-time.
I saw him actually, I think on Monday.
Did you?
Because I got into work a little late, and he's like, "Hey, Jake." And I'm like, "What's up?" So that was funny. But yeah, but how are you guys doing, though? It's been a while.
Yeah, just getting along.
Yeah, just like you said, we had a couple of things to check in on with the Lions there, but now we're in that real slow period there. There is some practices, organized team activities, whatever, kind of a thing going on right now, but really not much to hold our attention. So we want to hit these things up and then go back into hibernation maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back, and the next thing you know, it's going to be preseason.
Right, yeah, and we'll be back in hopefully weekly once again. So, but yeah, no, as you said, a bunch of things have happened, and as funny as this is the lull in the time for the Lions season, I feel like we've all been very busy, which is why we haven't been as prevalent during these kind of major moments in the NFL post-season / preseason, since officially it is now at the start of the new league calendar. But we're going to start. We're going to go in chronological order, starting with what happened first. So we're going to talk about the 2026 NFL Draft. So the Detroit Lions had the 17th overall pick in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft. Made some trades, shocker, coming from the Brad Holmes regime. And so we're going to just go pick by pick. I'll read a little bit about them, and I think then we'll talk about, so we'll go through all of them real quick, and then we'll go into your guys' kind of opinions on the draft if you want to highlight a certain player. Obviously, Cousin Lyle and I did a mock draft episode. You were correct on your first pick.
I was. Nailed it.
But I feel like overall we didn't see a lot of those players mocked. But you never do, right? So the Lions stay at 17. I know there was a lot of talk about them trading back into the round, maybe trading up for one of these blue chip prospects. But they take Blake Miller, the right tackle out of Clemson. There was a lot of talk at the start of this preseason and was officially confirmed by a statement made by Dan Campbell about moving Penei Sewell to left tackle in the absence of Taylor Decker. And it seems like that's where they're going. Blake Miller, he is a young guy, only 22 years old, 54 starts in college at the right tackle position. A guy who played left tackle his entire high school career, definitely a top talent coming in out of high school. Willingly chose to play right tackle because not a lot of people wanted to play at the right tackle since that's just less of a premier position, right? But yeah, so he's massive, 6'7", 318 pounds. Had a high RAS score in the high 9.9. Yeah, so I know that there were a lot of other tackles that maybe had higher upside, but a lot of people consider this guy to be have a very high ceiling and to be one of the most NFL ready going into this draft. Regardless, I think all of us really wanted them to revamp this offensive line. Picking up Cade Mays from the Panthers did it. Was a big upgrade at the center position, as well as adding this as our potentially starting right tackle of the future. Overall, though, offensive tackle with the first pick. It was the last thing I said in our season wrap-up episode. Please draft a tackle. They did draft a tackle. In the second round, they had the 50th pick, but traded up with the Jets using the 50th pick and the 128th pick to go to pick 44. And then they picked defensive end or outside linebacker edge, Derek Moore out of the University of Michigan. Considered a balanced edge rusher, sets a firm edge, but he is more of a power rusher, a bull rusher. 10.5 sacks out of Michigan, in with the Big Ten becoming the premier conference, probably their top defensive end on that team. Right then and there, offensive line, defensive end, first two picks. I think the general Lions fan base, position-wise, very consensusly happy with that. Love some guys like Zion Young on the board at that point, but Brad Holmes goes and gets his guy. But Derek Moore had a very impressive showing at the Senior Bowl, just bull rushing over some of the top talents in this upcoming draft. So once again, I can't complain. We'll talk more a little bit about our thoughts later. Round 4, we didn't have a third round pick. We didn't trade back up into the third as I think a lot of us were hoping for. At pick 118, they pick another Michigan man, linebacker Jimmy Rolder. He has limited starting experience, a lot more on the special teams side, but I know he was a top performing player on that Michigan defense, which was one of the better sides of their the ball that team had this year. We're going to see him immediately participate on special teams and contribute on that, much like Malcolm Rodriguez did, despite starting as a rookie, because on a much weaker linebacker room before we got Captain Jack Campbell. Probably the pick I might be the most actually excited about. In round 5, pick 157, they take Keith Abney, corner and nickelback out of Arizona State. A lot of people had him as a top 80 player in the draft overall. He's sitting there at 157, and I would not be shocked if they just abandoned their draft board to be like, why is this guy still on the board? Let's go get him. I think a lot of people think he's going to be starting right off the bat, especially with Amik Robertson having signed with Commanders. Thank you. Thank you.
I knew
Josh.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, according to Pride of Detroit, he's a top 30 in their grid index, whatever that might mean. So a lot of starter upside, but work in progress, considerable. Another trade, this is the pick that I think confused me the most, but the Lions acquired pick 168 from the Buffalo Bills, giving up picks 181 and 213. They pick up slot wide receiver and punt returner out of Kentucky, Kendrick Law. Smaller guy, but very fast, 4.4 40. A lot of people are projecting him to fit better in the NFL than he did in college schemes, especially Kentucky wasn't like a really big passing school.
Right.
Now that sounds like another wide receiver that we drafted the previous year in Isaac Tesla. But a lot of return potential, very dangerous player. I think he was their leading receiver as well. So, productive at a rather low production team. Mm-hmm. But, I know that we picked up Greg Dortch from the Cardinals, very familiar with Drew Petzing, our new offensive coordinator. But with the loss of Khalif Raymond to the hated Chicago Bulls, shout out Chicago Bull or Bears fan Ben. I said Bulls, not Bears. I meant to say
You don't want to be on the Bulls. They're
No.
terrible.
The Bulls are also very terrible.
I think they're 0-16 every year in the NFL.
Yeah. So in this middle
Ever since
to,
they lost Michael Jordan. Yeah.
I mean, they haven't been really good since MVP Derrick Rose. But yeah, and then we had a couple late round picks at 205. They take defensive tackle Skylar Gill-Howard out of Texas A&M. He was the opposite starting to.
He was from Texas Tech, I think. I think that's a mistake on there.
Yeah, that is funny.
Yep.
But yeah, so Texas Tech, my bad. He was starting opposite of your guy, Will Hunter, right? What was the guy's name?
Is that
Lee Hunter. Lee Hunter.
Lee Hunter, yeah,
Lee
the
Hunter.
the big guy,
But yeah, so
immovable object.
he was the highest rated defensive tackle on the Pride of Detroit's grid index, but and he's very small, 6'1", 280 pounds, and he looks very small out there. But he has an incredible quickness and has a lot of pass rush upside.
Breaking news from Adam Schefter.
Big stuff.
Breaking Josh. Let's interrupt the. What do they do?
Lions have signed veteran wide receiver Cedric Wilson.
He was with the Bears for a while.
He's been
That was an
around,
hour
I think.
and 17 minutes ago, so
Okay.
my source is a little slow.
Watch Brad just call us randomly
No,
in
that
the
was,
middle
that
of
was,
it.
that was Calvin.
Oh, Calvin. But yeah, so can't imagine he's going to add too much to this team.
No,
but
it's kind of a nothing burger to me. But
yeah. So, but but yeah, Skylar Gill Howard, smaller guy but very quick, has a lot of pass rush potential. Even though he's not as small as these types of players, reminds me a lot of high school teams will run very small, quick nose guards specifically to just cause chaos in the middle of the offensive line. So that's what this pick kind of feels like. Definitely just going to be a rotational piece at least to start. And then very last, they find their last pick at 222, Tyree West, defensive line out of Tennessee. Very big, or fairly big at 283 pounds, 6'2". He's going to be, kind of more like a tweener type player.
big edge /
Yeah.
3 tech.
Yeah, so he has quick feet, heavy hands, but overall also has some pretty good pass rush, especially if he switches down into the 3 tech on the defensive line. So those are our draft picks. In order, one more time, we have right tackle Blake Miller, Derek Moore, edge out of Michigan, Jimmy Rolder, linebacker out of Michigan, Keith Abney, cornerback out of Arizona State, Kendrick Law, slot wide receiver, punt returner out of Kentucky. Not David Putney, though. Skylar Gill Howard, defensive lineman out of Texas Tech, and Tyree West, defensive lineman out of Tennessee. There were also, we'll talk about this shortly in a moment, a handful of undrafted free agents, but just focusing on our 7 picks in this past NFL draft. How are you guys feeling about these picks, these positions drafted? And I'll start with you, Cousin Lyle.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is those first 2 rounds, honestly. I mean, anything that you're getting beyond that with the roster that they have is gravy, but the fact that they went in and they said, okay, we've got an offensive tackle need. We know what we want to do here. We know what's going to fill that. We're going to be able to move Penei Sewell over to the left side, and it's not going to make any difference. It's it's going to probably actually upgrade at that point, and then you can get a right tackle, new young guy that's going to get in there and be able to develop and become hopefully another set of bookends like they had when they had Taylor Decker in his prime here with Penei. So they got that done. Second round, they went for the defensive end that they preferred. He wasn't what I preferred. I preferred somebody with a little bit more size, that bigger closed end. Zion Young, like you said, was still on the board at that point. Got taken the very next pick at that point. You still had Gabe Yakus up there, who was the guy that I had in the second round of our mock draft. But they saw what they wanted. They wanted somebody that maybe has a little more explosion off of the edge for the pass rush. So I'm fine, the fact that they filled those 2 roles there, and then from that point on, they weren't the players that I would have picked in those positions, rounds 4 through 7. Maybe except for Keith Abney, who was definitely somebody higher up on there.
Yeah.
Everybody else was kind of a little bit lower to me than some of the other players that were there, but I'm going to go ahead and trust their judgment on that they're going to be players that can provide. It was the fact that they got offensive tackle, defensive end. All right, we're rolling from there. I'm happy with whatever happens out of this, and of course, hopefully, you got to have those picks pan out too.
Yeah, very defensive heavy draft, which I was excited to see. Josh?
Yeah, I think when you look at what they did draft and what they picked up so far in free agency, I think that kind of tells you what they think they have. So Kirby coming back, TA, those were the areas that I was concerned about. So they must have a lot of belief that they're going to be in good shape. So
yeah, it definitely felt to me that they addressed their probably 2 biggest needs right away, and then started finding depth at other spots. And now I'm starting to feel like that will linebacker spot is probably big concern left on the team, minus the safety health, but maintaining Rock Ya-Sin, signing Christian Eisen, as well as bringing back Avonte Maddox. I think those are just going to be some big things we'll have to see. I think adding pass rush help is fantastic. And there are a couple undrafted free agents I do want to highlight because a lot of these guys that I saw were mocked in the mid to late rounds. And a couple guys that I also just want to highlight really quick. So a one that I kept seeing and I think has a lot of upside to become the backup to Goff is the first one they signed is quarterback Luke Altmaier out of Illinois. He was a guy that I saw mocked a lot, definitely more in the later rounds, definitely more of a project, but they brought back Teddy Bridgewater. They got Mark Brunell. They got two good offensive minds as well as Mike Kafka now as a special offensive assistant. It's a good place to bring in a quarterback project, and who knows what Hendon Hooker would look like if he had this exact same kind of team around him,
Yeah,
develop.
And with Altmaier obviously coming out of the Big Ten, got a chance to watch him. I wasn't never really that impressed with his, his overall skills, abilities. Not a particularly strong arm, but he's a guy that has some moxie. He's a guy that has some mobility in the pocket, not necessarily a runner or anything like that, but can move around. So you got to hope sometimes if they're able to process quicker, they're able to figure out some of those things. Maybe this is somebody that we can develop and actually have a developmental number two at some time instead of being able to having to sign another free agent off the street and figure out what you got to do next year to year.
Exactly. So assuming Teddy Bridgewater is just the backup this year, let's Altmaier be the emergency quarterback and just learn behind the system for a year, which we're already going to be learning a new system with a new offensive coordinator, so getting a quarterback fresh in that as well.
Got that queued up.
Yeah.
This just in.
Yeah.
As of 2:30, Aaron Rodgers is retiring after this season, saying this is it. So, bold prediction for the season: Steelers Super Bowl winners.
Steelers going to the Super Bowl.
There you go. And then he's getting mad that they drafted quarterback, even though he said he retired.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fire through a couple more of the undrafted free agents here because there are two I specifically want to highlight. But first of all, tight end Miles Kitzelman out of Tennessee, Altmaier's starting guard Melvin Priestley out of Illinois. You have a defensive end out of Rutgers, Eric O'Neill, defensive tackle Aiden. I can't even say that. He's from Cal.
K-N-A-N-A.
Yep.
I'll take a guess at it.
Which right now it seems like he might be somebody worth noting since they signed him with $300,000 guaranteed.
Right.
Cornerback Deshaun Rucker out of USF. I've heard good things about him, as well as just general defensive back Amaris Brown. But the first of the last two guys, and these are the two guys I'm most excited about. So this is a guy I have done in not any official mocks on the channel, but I've mocked in later rounds before, is defensive end Anthony Lucas out of USC. Pretty solid player, a good physical tool set on him, fairly productive, but just somebody who has the chance to develop into something special. So getting him is pretty huge. And then the player I'm probably most excited about, just looking back on James Houston's rookie season with us, prior played at an HBCU at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State.
Jackson State.
Jackson State, thank you. Linebacker Eric Hunter out of Morgan State, already signed with a $175,000 guaranteed bonus. This guy is an athletic freak. Shout out HBCUs and Big Blue Luna. This guy is an athletic freak. Decent in coverage, very good pass rushing off the edge and through the middle. Gets to the ball. He's a head hunter. Someone I'm very excited about to potentially make some noise in training camp. So I know a lot of these players. Obviously, Lyle, you watched a lot of Big Ten football this past year. Josh, probably you the most Big Ten football you watched in a couple of years. There,
Every Spartan game.
Every Spartan home game.
Home game, yes.
Yeah. So I think that they're, once again, and what I really like to see is you got a tight end in here, you got a potential backup quarterback. Guys to compete with the defensive end, guys to compete in the secondary. So it really kind of reiterates they're trying to be young on their team. I think right now, I could be wrong. I think Jared Goff is the oldest player on roster at the moment at 30. He's a couple months older than me, so he's turning 32 here in like a month or so. which makes me feel horrible. I'm older than most Detroit Lions right now.
I'm older than most of them as well.
That's true.
We're older than Campbell, aren't we?
Yeah, probably. It's right. It's close.
Yeah.
He looks like he's in better shape than us.
Well, we just don't drink enough caffeine, guys.
That's
Come on,
what
man.
it is. Come on, man.
But yeah, so overall, though, I would say I can't complain too much about the draft. The Kendrick Law trade up for a wide receiver and punt returner, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense because you do have, obligatory Tom Kennedy TK85 reference for Crazy Play Steve, who's not
You're
here with
just
us
scared
tonight.
for him.
Yeah, I don't like him yelling at me, But, we have Tom Kennedy back there. We picked up Greg Dortch, who's got that upside, as well as he drafted Dominic Lovett last year. So they might just see more out of this guy. Maybe didn't see enough out of Lovett.
That's the thing I would say is that given the track record of them with their wide receivers that they draft, I mean, you draft St. Brown in the 4th round. I mean, that is maybe one of the best picks of all time.
Yeah.
You get, you go up and you get J-Mo, and it took him a little while to develop, but he's turned into, a solid, explosive receiver. You got, you went ahead and reached on Tesla. You traded a lot of capital for him, made a lot of people unhappy, but it looks like he's going to be a solid receiver, though. He's going to be very good. So, they must see something like that. They did lose Khalif, so kind of somebody maybe to fill that gadget role on top of being, a special teams punt return, kick return guy. So I'll go ahead and, I was up a little. I didn't want him to draft a wide receiver.
If they would have done that for like another corner or a linebacker, would have made more sense.
But I'll trust that they see something there that, and maybe in a couple years we're talking about what a great pick that is too.
Yeah, and so obviously there's a chance for us to make some free agent signings. But Josh, you heard a lot of the positions we've drafted. You saw how we struggled last year. How are you feeling going into training camp with this group of men that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have kind of gathered together?
I'm still a little worried about the secondary.
I
think that's probably about it.
Yeah, which I will say the Tyrion Arnold stuff, I've seen him appear on an interview show and a podcast a couple of times, so I wonder if things are kind of calming down there.
My worry is just because I don't know what they know.
Yeah.
They might know a lot. I mean, I'm sure they do know a lot
I hope they know more than us.
Because if I'm making the calls, sorry,
I think they're kind of committed to that,
It's
but
not
at the
Crazy
very
Play Steve
least,
making the calls.
but at the very least, they seem like they've insured themselves some there by, like you said, bringing back Avonte Maddox. You've got is it Hunter? I'm trying to remember. James Hunter. I'm mixing up my names now.
Yeah.
But Christian Izzian, Chuck Clark, who's got experience at the very least, even if he's at the downside of his career.
Clark on the linebacker spot.
They're bringing in at least to say, okay, maybe it's not going to be great if we obviously don't have Branch for the first part of the season, and we don't know what Kirby's status is, but at least there's a plan B there to at least, try to shore that up until we can know a little bit more about where these players are at.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have a lot more to talk about as, training camp happens and if any signings happen. But before we do any of that, because that's down the road from now, let's talk about what just recently happened last week, being the schedule release.
I pass the knowledge down to you. Break it simple, make it true. Every week we build.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Lions' upcoming schedule. The schedule released this past week. And before Cousin Lyle's going to take away the regular season, I'm going to talk about the preseason a bit. So for the Lions playing, no surprise, 3 preseason games. They start on August 13th, week 1 of the preseason, at the Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals beat them last year. Lions are going into their house again this year on August 13th. On my birthday, the Lions play at home in week 2 of the preseason, the Commanders on August 22nd. Once again, it's a preseason game. There's a lot that they'll need to test. But ultimately, they're playing the Commanders in preseason. And then they wrap the preseason up on August 29th, going to Indianapolis to play the Colts. It's preseason. Who cares about preseason? We say it every time.
Well, except for this might be a little bit different. They're not going to do, joint practices. So are we going to see starters?
I feel like we're probably going to have to see the starters,
so,
especially with the new system. So I agree. And I think that there's just a lot of new players, a lot of young players who are going to be vying for a spot. So I think this will be a very competitive preseason. for the roster. Lyle, any thoughts on the preseason?
Yeah, just like you said, they're not going to do the joint practices, so that's going to be the only opportunity for live. And I think that it's good that the one home game that's going to be in there is the second one, because I feel like it wouldn't be surprising if that's the best opportunity to see some starters for a little bit longer there, because you won't want to do it the week before the game one there. So at least if you're heading down to Ford Field, you'll get a chance to hopefully see maybe Jared Goff step out there for a series or two, and maybe see Aiden Hutchinson crank it up a couple of times just to get
the blood
ready.
flowing.
Yeah, get ready for the season. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. But the biggest thing, as always, through the preseason, just get out of it healthy.
Yeah.
And make sure that you've got everybody ready.
Don't
to
tear
go.
your hamstring trying to stop a touchdown unless you're a guy playing for a practice squad spot.
That's right.
But yeah, so Cousin Lyle, regular season, 2026 regular season, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, so I didn't really have a plan to go game by game on this. You can look it up online and see what the schedule is. And
Do you want
of
me to
course,
just run
there's
through it really
a
quick?
lot of people that if you want, we can. Yeah, I can just jump on. Game one, we
Sure.
get to go open it up at home. We're against the New Orleans Saints. Who honestly finished up the year last year pretty strong.
Yeah,
for
Tyler
as low
Shuck
as they
looking
were.
like he might be worth calling the quarterback of the future for that
Maybe.
franchise.
I guess
So,
this is his biggest second audition now. From there, we got a short turnaround, only 4 days from that Sunday. You go to Buffalo at night, Thursday night football, opening up their new stadium against the Buffalo Bills, which is probably, to me, the toughest game on the schedule there.
yeah.
So that'll be interesting there. From there, you get at least a little bit of an extended week, and then you get ready for Aaron Glenn coming in. You got the Jets coming into the Ford Field homecoming against the Lions in week 3. Week 4, out to Carolina to face the Panthers, the surprise winners of the
That's Monday
NFC
night.
South last year. Yeah, that's a Monday night game.
Monday Night Football.
Or Sunday night football on that one. And then week 5, travel out to Arizona. It's where they seem to go every year to me somehow. They always end up playing in Arizona against the Cardinals, and it's, of course, 50% Lions fans out there for that one. You got the bye right after that, so early bye, week 6. That's going to create some problems later on in the schedule we'll talk about. Then you come back off of that bye, though, and you get a home game against Matt LeFleur and the Green Bay Packers, which, by the way, if you play those back-to-back, Cardinals and Packers, you get both LeFleurs in there.
Yeah.
You go LeFleur. Week 8, so right after the Packers, you get the Vikings coming into town, so you get back-to-back home games against your division rivals. Week 9, travel out. Go to Miami to play the Dolphins, who are going to be in a little bit of a rebuild, I think, this year. New head coach, new quarterback, all of that action. Week 10, going out to Germany.
Yeah.
Go to.
I wish we could be. But that's kind of an
if somebody
expensive
wants
trip
to
make.
sponsor outside the den, inside the barn to travel to Germany, we'll do it. So they can take on the runners-up of the Super Bowl there, the New England Patriots. Right after that, you come home. You got to face always a tough team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers in your own house. Next week, Chicago Bears coming back into Ford Field and trying to keep that undefeated record against Ben Johnson on the line there.
And I have to just say, and I know Josh might want to chip in on this, going out to play an international game, Germany, coming back playing the Bucs, who are going to be a pretty damn competitive team. 4 days later, immediately playing the Bears. What the heck, NFL?
Yeah, that's Thanksgiving.
What is
there, of
that,
course.
man?
That's them saying, okay, we've heard everybody say that the Lions are going to have the cake schedule, and we're going to do everything we can to make it worse.
Yeah, so that's Thanksgiving there. So you're getting post-Thanksgiving. You go traveling out to Atlanta, face Atlanta Falcons, new head
404.
coach over there. Next week, the Tennessee Titans come in. We'll have to see what kind of jump that Cam Ward has made at quarterback at that point. And then you get to the last 4 games of the season here. You ready, boys, for this? Lions on the road at Vikings. Then you come home. You got a Monday night game against what could be a very much improved New York Giants team. Big Blue Lou is going to be ready for that one, I'm sure. And then you finish up the season, Week 17 at Chicago. in Soldier Field. That'll feel fun. And then if you like that, you're really going to love Week 18 Lions at Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field for the frozen tundra. So really tough stretch there at the end there.
Yeah.
This season, the Lions are the NFC teams. The NFC teams get the 9 home games versus the 8 away games, but you sacrifice that by one of those home games being over in Germany. Technically, you're the home game, but it's not a game at home.
Yeah.
So really, you've got 8 home games, 8 away games, and then a neutral site game that's all the way over in Europe.
Amon-Ra will pack the.
Oh,
the
100%.
stand, so
Yeah.
it'll be.
He's a
definitely
great
for-
ambassador for Germany.
Oh, yeah.
So now that
in the
we've
NFL.
we've had the time to digest this schedule here. Sorry, I'm trying to think of things here.
You're good.
Just wondered, kind of what your thoughts are in terms of overall, Jake. What do you think of the way that the schedule came out?
So if we're just looking at last year, not necessarily schedule construction, because I would be fine with a couple of these short weeks if, for example, that international game, we got the bye right after, just to give the guys a chance to properly rest. But at the end of the day, I do love the start of it. You have an opportunity to open up strong against the Saints, who, for the last couple of years have not been really a strong team, although I expect them to be a little bit better. We'll have to see. But then
Last 6 weeks of the season, number 1 defense.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody, but then again, you had to also look at who they were playing at that point, which was
Exactly.
a lot of their NFC South
which
teams.
So, but then it's going to be nice, assuming that game could get ugly for the Saints. It could, especially with the Lions' just general talent on the roster. But immediately getting out, arguably your toughest or hardest game on the schedule, being the Bills on their first game in the new stadium in week 2. Getting that out week 2 is fine. But then if you look at the rest of this, the Panthers were a playoff team and put together a pretty nice little performance in the playoffs, definitely playing above what a lot of people thought. I still think the Lions are the stronger team, getting then to follow up with the Jets, the Cardinals, and then getting a shot at the Packers. So you get a couple games to kind of tune up before you get into this like mini gauntlet between the Packers and the Vikings back to back. Then you get to kind of come back against the Dolphins, hopefully get right that game, and then you immediately go take on the Super Bowl runners up in the Patriots. It's just this stretch of the Patriots, Buccaneers, Bears in a very short succession is really tough. And then the ending gauntlet, once again, the Giants should be significantly improved. I don't expect for them to be the cakewalk we thought the last season game was going to be in, especially
which
because
it wasn't.
it was not even close to being a cakewalk. It had to be an overtime win. But yeah, and then pretty standard for the Lions, finishing up 2 tough games generally on the road on the season. So I think what I like is if there's a schedule that allows for us to kind of get right and bounce back to becoming a playoff team, potentially a contender, I think this schedule is a good way to do that. And it's still going to give, a bunch of teams that we think we should be able to stomp over with the general talent of this team. But at the same time, there's going to be some gauntlets in there. There's going to be some tough opponents. I mean, the NFC North in itself is super competitive. The Vikings somehow, with no actual quarterback, swept the Lions last year. So, but it's the NFL season. You never know what could happen. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Is I'm not complaining too much. I just wish that bye was happening after the Munich game.
Right,
Sure.
right. And there was some weird talk about how it could have possibly been that way, but the Lions opted for something different. I don't know. It was, I'm not quite sure on it, but it is difficult to see that week 6 bye and then know that you've got basically 12 weeks in a row where you're going to be playing football. Josh, your thoughts on the schedule?
Well, I'm not happy with the game on Sunday and then game on Thursday.
And we do that twice. Yeah.
Yeah, we do that twice. Like you guys have already said about the travel and then coming back, and then the last 3 out of 4 games going against the division. So
Yeah.
but
On the road, yeah.
there's only one game you got to get to that really matters, and if you can't beat those guys, then you don't deserve to be there type, philosophy. I'm looking at right now. My guess is maybe 12, 13 wins. Probably more towards 12.
Yeah.
because there's going to be some flukes.
The Lions always drop a game they shouldn't. They find a way, no matter what.
Except for 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And even that one, I guess the Buccaneers game was a little bit of a surprise at that point. But then they reeled off what?
Imagine Goff throws one less interception that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys, as the season ticket holders of the three up here, your thoughts on the home schedule there. Obviously, the Patriots are on a home game, but you lose that because it's over in Germany. And you're looking at your schedule, you see the only teams with a winning record that you're playing at home right now are the divisional games against the Packers and the Bears. And the Vikings. Everybody else had a losing record last year, including Carolina, who won the division, NFC South, because everybody had a losing record in that division. My thoughts, are you upset because you're like, oh, man, we're not really seeing a lot of marquee teams coming into Ford Field? Or are you like, hey, this is going to give us a chance to have hopefully a really good home record this year. We're going to see a lot of wins. What do you think?
I like seeing wins in person. I mean, and obviously on TV too, but when you're there and you can be, it's going to pump up the team, you know, and that's going to carry over into the away games. So I'm all right with that.
Yeah, same. I'm very blessed that Josh has been a season ticket holder as long as he has, and I've gotten to see a number of marquee players, including Tom Brady and some other very good players, come through Ford Field. And I like the idea of having, once again, in theory,
right?
In theory, because who knows how we're going to look, who knows how the other teams are going to look, right? Everybody else picked up and signed players. Everybody else drafted some players. So who knows what that's going to be.
Everybody else is mainlining some hopium.
Yeah, the New York Giants should have Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatabo, and Jackson Dart back. So, who knows? But ultimately, just knowing that we have games where we, in theory, could kind of kick back in the third quarter and just not be too stressed is nice. I do love the opportunity to see the Lions play against some of these guys who will finish finish their careers as all-time greats. Hate Aaron Rodgers with a passion, but I've seen that son of a gun play in person more times than I could probably count. And that is something down the road. It'll be interesting to tell, my friends, future people, hopefully future children, right? Of like, oh, hey, this guy was just ranked the 4th best quarterback of all time. Like, did you ever see him play? And I'm like, yeah, he was really good. He was a bastard, but he was good. But ultimately, being able to see some wins and hopefully the Lions just kind of get right after this past season, especially what we were accustomed to the 2 previous seasons, being able to have the good vibes in Ford Field, I think, is, as Josh said, will carry over to those away games. And the Lions love playing spoiler. The Lions love being road warriors. So hopefully they take that same pride, as Lions, roar, and keep it at home too.
There.
Yeah.
And the ride home is always great with 97.1 to be listening to that and not hear a bunch of, we got to sell the team. And blah, blah, blah.
True.
The one thing that I'll say about the schedule that I do like you had kind of alluded to it, I know, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it anyways, is that there is kind of a soft ramp, at least it looks like on paper, coming into the season there. And I think that's going to be important as we do have this young team gelling, especially on the offensive line. If we do have Blake Miller starting at the right tackle like we think is going to happen, we have Tate Ratledge in this, coming into his second year. We've got that competition at the left guard. We don't know if it's going to be Mahogany. We don't know if it's going to be Frazier. Ben Barch was brought in to compete there. So Cade Mays being obviously new to the team here, that's going to give a great chance to hopefully have that gel and have that happen so that when you do face those tougher teams later in the year, you've at least got some continuity and come on, we need a break on the injuries kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm hoping, is that it gives us a chance to pick up some wins, but at the same time give us some time to gel so that when we do have to face gauntlet of Vikings, Packers, Bears, Packers on the road 3 out of the last 4 weeks, we're ready for the challenge at that point.
Yeah.
Anything else about the schedule here? I'm just going to look real quick what I thought. Yeah, I know, Josh, you'd kind of thrown it out there, 12, 13 wins kind of a thing. Jake, everybody does the schedule game.
Yeah.
What was your outcome when you did the schedule game there?
I like 12-6.
12
and 5.
12-5. Yeah, I like 12-5 quite a bit. I think 11-6 is borderline guaranteed with the schedule. If I had to put money on a schedule, it'd be 11-6. Because I think 12-5 makes more sense, but the Lions always drop a game against a team I feel like they shouldn't. Just like how they dropped multiple games to that Vikings team. But yeah, so I like 12-5 as well, 11-6, somewhere in that range. But it's the right schedule at the right time, and with that soft ramp, as you said, to hopefully help us adjust to essentially a new offense, some new defensive pieces as well, and just the more wins we can get before Branch and Kirby, while not having Branch and Kirby, the better, because we're going to need those guys again in those couple of gauntlets we have later on in the season. We need them in the big games. So, not feeling like we have to rush those guys back and getting the wins while kind of building that cohesion on the offensive line, I think will be massive for sure. So,
All right.
Do you think we target anybody for a mid-season trade?
a mid-season trade. Come on now, Josh.
Yeah, we're really projecting there. I mean,
I as much as I rip on Brad Holmes for never wanting to seem to address our needs, I felt like he's really done that in this off season so far. And I think that's going to be really tough until we see, any injuries pop up, or if there's certain teams that the players or any players on teams that just seem like they want to leave, right? I'm thinking Cam Jordan is somebody I've seen, defensive end, very old defensive end he's a free agent currently with the Saints. I believe he's a free agent.
yeah,
still.
he is. Yep.
Yeah, so he's somebody I would love for the
I
Lions to
think
pick up.
everybody's saying basically him or Joey Bosa. Those are the
Joey
two big
Bosa. I
names.
think Jadeveon Clowney would be a really good
Jadeveon.
addition. But one of those three guys where he had a veteran presence in the locker room, I would definitely like Cam Jordan just because the dude's missed 2 games in a 15-year NFL career.
Right.
One of them was just due to COVID protocol in that first COVID season. But and it's one of those things where they could. They might, they should have, depending on how the injuries play out. But I just don't know who they really will go after. I mean, I believe they're still missing a 3rd-round pick. Am I wrong?
For next year?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's definitely something they tried to trade, I think, multiple times in this last draft. So I don't know.
So, yeah. But no, yeah. So we will definitely dive a little bit more in once we see how training camp goes. How some of this free agency, because I don't think the Lions are done adding. Clearly, once again, picked up a wide receiver earlier today. So, but yeah. So, any final thoughts on the draft, on the postseason ahead of preseason?
No, not really. I just, I'm really looking forward to getting these next couple of months out of the way. I mean, obviously, I've got a lot of stuff going on over the next couple of months. I'll be actually right when they're getting into, when was that first preseason game?
The 13th of August.
August? Okay. I'll be back by then. Got a trip going at that point, pretty close there. But, I just really looking to wash the taste out of my mouth from last year. It's such a disappointing ending to the season. And it made it difficult to even want to talk about the Lions as much as, we were really fired up at the beginning of last year.
Oh, my
when we
Lord.
kicked this thing
The
off.
absolute energy we had at the first half of the podcast to those last couple episodes.
Yeah,
That's why we
those
did
are
this
tough.
a year too late.
I know.
You imagine doing that the year before?
We
We would have been, Buffalo Bill in this table.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I would have been like
buy a
Josh.
new one
hold
every
Bill's
that.
Mafia.
Move 'em,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And then we would have lost the Bills and we're like,
But,
shit,
but
now we
yeah.
need a new table.
That was just unfortunate. I liked the schedule release for everybody that watched those videos and everything, and the Lions were just strictly business.
I thought the same.
that's what
I thought
yeah.
my buddy Austin, who's a Falcons fan, I told him to watch the Saints one. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
So the Saints had one on TikTok where it was them mudding the ball based on every team. So when it got to Detroit, it was motor oil. So I thought that was kind of funny. I think Chicago was like a Chicago dog, so they made like the Chicago dog on the thing. But then when it got to the Falcons, just football in the dumpster. So
Wow.
the NFC, you know, once again, we're so tuned into the NFC North. I always forget how vicious that rivalry and that hatred between those NFC South teams are. My friend Austin's very aware of it. He hates the Saints with a burning passion. So to see that kind of back and forth is just kind of funny to me.
I think my two favorite, well, it was both the Colts.
Yeah.
You know, they did the little Xerox thing, and then they threw that
Yeah.
out there. I thought that was funny. And then they did the man on the street. Hey, that's so and so. Hey, you know.
Yeah.
And one of them like, hey, that's Dan Campbell.
All right. Well, guys, with that, a little shorter episode than what we're accustomed to, but that was our little bit of postseason / preseason, too early preseason of Outside the Den, Inside the barn. Once again, back in the barn. I'm Jake. Here's Cousin Lyle. There's Big Brother Josh over there. We are missing
Crazy Place Steve.
Crazy Place
I
Steve.
had a question today from one of our watchers if Crazy Play Steve was going to make an appearance today. I said, yeah, I think he's out for this one.
We'll have to bookend that, but regardless, we got a lot of fun things in the future plan. Once again, planning to bring the podcast back for this upcoming season, and once again, out there, just keep subscribing because we still have things to give away. So every 25 subscribers.
Well, we're running out of things because we're giving them to the people that we know.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well,
We might
Josh,
have to reorder.
yeah, Josh's going to have to go burn another hole in his wallet. But once again, guys, thank you, One Pride. Go Lions. We'll see you soon. Big Brother Josh, sign us out.
I'm looking forward to the watch parties, too. Keep in mind that one. So, go Lions.
Gridiron Heroes. Let's go.
Forward down the field, baby.
Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Podcast over. Signing off tonight. Wyatt Intimation. Everything's alright. Tonight, Lions Nation, everything's alright.